today's video, I'm going to be talking about deployment in Iraq, 2008. It was my second deployment as an Army Infantry Soldier, and my good friend was killed by a roadside bomb. And when the attack happened, I happened to be on the radios at that time. I was in the TOC, the Tactical Operations Center. So I received a call that day when he was blown up and he was killed, and the company commander was also killed in that same explosion. So I'll be talking about that in this video. I want to say thank you to the new subscribers. This past week we've gotten a few, and I really appreciate it. Every time somebody subscribes, I look, if you have your subscriptions public, I look at your profile, and I just want to say thank you. I mean, if I could, I would send you a message saying thank you. I really appreciate the support. It shows that you guys support my stories, what I'm trying to do, and you're following along on this journey of telling stories about my life, my deployments, and stuff like that. So if you're new here, please subscribe if you haven't. Hit the notification bell so that you know when new episodes come out. And so what I'm trying to do here is I'm telling stories from my deployments, things I went through, and there's a lot of attacks and days that happen that are just not documented anywhere. Like I told a story 2 videos ago about the VBIT attack, and a couple soldiers killed, a bunch wounded, and I searched the internet, I can't find anything about that day. And to me, like, this stuff needs to be documented. It's a part of history. And you know, I feel like if nobody else is going to do it, I will. I'll use my memory the best I can and tell these stories because they deserve to be told. For the people that died, that lost their lives, and for me to tell these stories, it's therapeutic for me to get it off my chest and to tell the emotions I felt that day. And originally I was going to do like driving in the car, and I was easily distracted by cars driving by, and the sound wasn't great. So if you notice, the setting's a little different. I'm going to be doing them outside. I have a family, I have a job, and it's very hard to find a quiet space in my house where I'm no distractions. And so I'm going to be posting videos once a week. I have a long list of stories I want to tell from my deployments, and also I'm going to talk about my transition to civilian life after at some point. And also I did private security contracting for a little while. It was actually for the CIA, so I went through the training, the requirements for that, and I'll probably talk about that at some point. But each week I'm going to be telling one of those stories in a long form video, like, you know, 10 to 30 minutes depending on how long the story. And then during that week I usually break down the long stories into shorts, because I did some shorts on like the Ranger training, and that got a lot more views than anything else. So I think people want to hear about the training and they want to hear about the combat stories, so I'll do both. And I'm not in this to get rich. I have a job, and I'm just here to tell these stories. It's helpful for me, and I feel like they should be documented. So that's my main motivation for doing this. I also wanted to say that the only platform I'm posting these videos on is YouTube. I'm not on any other social media. I haven't had any type of social media for a long time. The only thing I have is YouTube. And so these videos that I'm doing are only on YouTube, just so that you're aware. Alright, getting into the story. So it's my second deployment. It's 2008, and we just got into country, and I was normally in a infantry platoon assigned to go on patrols every day, but my commander tasked me with being in the TOC, the Tactical Operations Center, to be on the radios. That is, anytime someone gets into contact, you're calling for air support. Anytime we're communicating with other assets that are in the area, that's all going through the TOC, the Tactical Operations Center. So I was tasked with being in there. I wasn't happy with it. I wanted to be with my platoon out on patrols, my guys, but my commander tasked me with being in there. I think part of the reason is I had just finished Ranger School, and I was the only guy in my company, besides the officers and our first sergeant, that had a tab. None of the other enlisted guys in our entire company had a tab but me. And in Ranger School, they do a lot of radio communications, and so I think that's probably why he put me in TOC, because we were going to a hot area. We were going to an area where these guys were getting hit so often they didn't even want to leave their base. They were in a defensive stature. They were getting hit so many times, so many attacks, that they weren't even patrolling anymore when we got there. They were scared. They didn't want to lose guys anymore. And so yeah, I think my commander had some faith in me and put me on the radios. So we were in a small patrol base in the city this time. My first deployment, I told us a couple stories about those already. I still have more stories for my first deployment, but it was more rural, away from the city, farmlands. It was dirt roads, and there was a lot of IEDs, and we got IEDs were our biggest problem. Dirt roads, rural, farmland. Second deployment, we were in between Baghdad Airport and the Green Zone. So you arrive at Baghdad Airport, and in order to get from there to the Green Zone, you got to travel along a route, and then it heads north to the Green Zone. And the Green Zone is like the area where all the higher ups stay. It's like highly secured. And so whenever someone lands at Baghdad International Airport or BIOP, they're higher up. They have to travel all the way to the Green Zone, which is only like 25 minutes or so. But that road was also heavily laced with IEDs and stuff, because they knew that. They knew the higher ups were going to be traveling all the way over there. So our patrol base was right on the south side of one of those roads, and our area of operations was here, and then it went down in like a triangle, and we had everything in between, and it was densely populated. I mean, houses on top of houses in outskirts of Baghdad. And so there were a lot of bad dudes in that area, and Fallujah was a little bit north, and a lot of the guys that were traveling to and from were living in our area or traveling to and from Fallujah after the first invasion of Fallujah. A lot of those guys moved out south. So we had a little patrol base, and just to re-spark your memory, most guys are on these massive bases over there. They have huge bases, Liberty, Victory, Falcon, Taji. I don't remember the name of the one in Taji, but I think it was called Camp Taji. But these bases have massive chow halls. They have like Burger King trailers, laundry. I mean, in the early beginning they didn't, but by the time 2005, 2006, 2007, they had these big bases. And so if you were infantry, the infantries are the guys on the front with the weapons. They're the ones looking for the fight. They're usually in a patrol base to live in your area of operations. So you're living around the people that you're serving. I mean, we're looking for bad guys, yes, but we're also there to help. I mean, a lot of days we didn't take contact, and we were trying to help people. Like, we were trying to help rebuild schools, give grants. Some of the bombings that initially took place in 2003, we helped repair some of the damage we had done. Not only that, we were trying to restart their economy, their police force, their army, because we wiped that all out when we came in. I mean, they didn't have a police force really, but their army was mostly under Saddam's regime, and those guys either fought in the beginning and then fled, or if they were good and we're going to be in a coalition or an alliance, then we would allow them to be on our side. So we restarted the police force, the army. We had to pay for all that. My point is that we were there to help a lot too. Like, we would go out and we would try and help. We would help oversee the police, train them, the military, train them to show them how to root out the bad guys that are in their area, that bullies, terrorists, gangs. It's just people that would take advantage of poor places that these people live. So we're in our patrol base, we're getting set up, and we lived in this. It was an Iraqi club at one point, and so it was just a big building, a club, and somebody knows I'm talking about them or something. But and so we move in there, and there's just cots. There's this open area, a bunch of cots. Those are those green, like, stretcher-looking beds, and these guys are all sleeping on top of each other on these cots. And I remember, in like the first week, one of the guys was really like construction builder savvy, and he was told our first sergeant, I was like, hey, I could build us some rooms. I could section off some rooms. If our first sergeant was like, all right, what do you need? They go, I need a bunch of 2x4s, plywood, and I can help set up and build rooms inside this building. And so those guys every day, we'd be going out, or people would go on patrols and do daily life, but those guys every day would build rooms so that we could stay in. Eventually, this big open area, they had rooms that were like probably 4 feet wide by like 7 or 8 feet long, tiny, and 2 guys to a room. They built bunk beds out of the wood they were supplied. My point is, I'm just trying to tell you the living conditions a little bit. And we were there, and you would do 3 days of day patrol, 12 hours. You'd either leave at like 6 in the morning, come back at 6 at night, and then we always wanted somebody always out in the area of operations. Guys were always out there somewhere. We always wanted a presence. And so at night at 6 p.m., they would switch off, the other guys would go out. And then we had 3 platoons, so 1 guy's on day patrol, 1 guy's on night patrol, or platoon. And then the 3rd platoon, it would be rotating to do perimeter security. We had like a Bradley tank at the front gate. Some guy would be sitting in there with it running at all times. If a vehicle ever tried to come in, vehicle-borne IED, then they would light them up. There was a tower right there, a tower on each side. So they would rotate and do tower guard for 3 days. And then you would rotate back to day patrol, night patrol. And then in between all that, if we had raids at nighttime, most of the time everybody would go. I don't care if you're sleeping from day patrol or if you're on perimeter guard or you need sleep. When it's raid time, you're going after a target, everybody goes. We need all of our assets. It's a big deal because a firefight could break out. You want everybody there. So you're rotating day patrol, night patrol, tower guard. But me, in the beginning, I was stuck on the radios in the TOC, Tactical Operations Center. So we had our building, and in the Tactical Operations Center, you walk in and there was a couple radios there. The radios, we had one that would talk to battalion, one that would talk to the air assets, helicopters, C-130s, and then the other one would talk to the platoon that's out in the area of operations at that time. And so I eventually built a massive map of the area. I printed out a massive map on the wall, and I had like little markers, a key, and if troops in contact, a tick, troops in contact, anytime they took shots, I'd mark it on the map, orange, right there. And then if they hit an IED, blue, I'd put it right there. And then mortar fire, if we took mortars, a yellow marker, I'd put it right there. And I had this map. And within the first month, this map is covered. I mean, these guys were getting in contact every single day. Mortars getting launched at our base, and it was a wild first couple months there. Eventually things died down. It wasn't so heavy the whole time, but when we first got there, I mean, it was nuts. I missed out on a couple firefights because I was in the stinking TOC, which stunk. But maybe I was being saved from something. I don't know. But I would beg my commander all the time, "When can I go back to my platoon?" And he's like, "I need you here, Larry. I need you right here." And there would be some nights we would be taking contact. It'd be the middle of the night, right? And troops in contact, they're getting shot at. They're calling up to me like, "Hey, we're taking shots. We need air support." I'm like, "All right, stand by." I'd call up immediately to battalion. I'd be like, "We got troops in contact. We need any air support you could send." So then that would usually be helicopters or C-130. The helicopters would be like Apache helicopters or C-130. C-130 can sit up high and watch over, and then they can also shoot rounds. Like I believe it's a 30 mic or 120 millimeter or 30 millimeter. They could shoot. And so anyway, we would get contact, and my commander would, if it was the middle of the night, he would sleep like 4 hours a night. This guy was an animal. We all looked up to our commander. I give him credit. The reason why most of us stayed alive is because our commander was go, 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 rarely slept. He was mission oriented 24/7. Us going out 12 hours patrol, rotating, nobody else was doing that. And that constant presence in the area, I feel like that helped so much. We set a precedence. If you mess with us, we're going to fight back, and we're not going to stop until, And so at night times, we'd get engagements and stuff, and I remember I'd go to his room. He had his own little area where he slept, and he'd be sleeping on his cot, and I'd say, "Hey, sir, we got troops in contact," and he'd be like, he'd wake up, like, well, did you call air support? I'd be like, "Yeah." He's like, do we got any wounded or killed? I was like, no. He's like, all right, well, wake me up if anything else happens. I'm like, all right, you sure? He's like, yeah, you got it. So I'd close the door and I'd go back to the talk, and like I'm literally handling situations. What am I, 20 years old, and I'm handling the situations. I've got talking to platoon sergeants that are 35, 40 years old, and they're getting in contact, and I'm talking to the helicopters. The guys in the helicopters are 40-year-old Air Force veterans, and it was a crazy time, and I'm thankful for that experience. And also at the same time, like I said, I wanted to be with my guys. I wanted to be out on patrol. So on this particular day, my buddy, my friend, came to our area to go to a school. And so let me tell you about my friend. So when we were stateside, we deployed, we were back for a year, and we deployed again. So we had a year off in between. And in that year, we would go out to the field for a month. We'd be out at the range every day shooting thousands of rounds. I went to Ranger School, so I was gone for 3 months. In that year, it was very busy. And on our off time, we would hang out in the barracks with our guys. And in our barracks, there was a second floor room, and it was my one buddy's room. I'm not going to say any specific names because I don't think they would want me airing their names out there. So that's why I don't say like any specifics, because I don't think they would want their names out there on the internet forever, So that's why I don't use names. Well, except for mine. My name's Larry. My buddy's got his room, right? And he's got a nice TV. He's got a gaming system. So we would all go to his room every day after work. And on that floor, we all were close friends. And you had a friend right here. His room was right next door. And then my buddy I'm talking about today, his room was on the right. And then my other buddy, we would just go there and hang out. So there was like 5 of us always in that area after work. And we would, drink beers and play video games. And what's really crazy, man, is that out of those 5 guys, only 2 of us are left. The one of them I'm going to talk about today that was killed. The other one took his life at the end of that deployment. We were a week from going home, and the guy took his life. The other guy got out and got in a bad bus accident and died. Oh, and then the other guy died a deployment after that in Afghanistan. So I guess that's 4 guys that died since those hangout days. Really sucks. That's another motivation why I tell this stuff, man. It's like people need to know about these heroes, these guys that serve their country selflessly. They just wanted to do good. They just wanted to serve their country, no matter what that may be. We may not agree with why we went, but we go there and you just look out for the guy to the left and right. You're just there to do what you're told and look out for the guy that's left and right, and do what you're told to a point. I mean, I still have my morals and ethics. I'll tell other stories of times I was told to do something I didn't want to do, and I refrained. And so we weren't just savages. I mean, I kept my principles, my morals, and times I was told to shoot and I didn't. Times I was told to beat up a guy and I didn't. And I stood on my morals, and so did they. My buddies were good guys. So my buddy comes in. We were friends from before. We used to hang out every day. He was from Colorado, which I was from Colorado. This hat that's why I wore it today. It's a Colorado hat, and he's from Colorado, so maybe if his family hears this one day, you know who I'm talking about. And I had a crotch rocket, and I wouldn't let anybody ride my crotch rocket. And I remember one day we were sitting there, and he kept begging me. He's like, dude, I know how to ride. I was like, all right, fine, I'll let him ride it. And he did. He rode it, and he was fine. But he was the only guy I ever let ride my bike. And so he comes into the base today. They all come in, and they're like, hey, what's going on? He's in our headquarters company. So the headquarters company was stationed at one of the bigger bases, and they would go out to our area and do like relationship type stuff, school building stuff. Specifically, they weren't there to like get in a fight. They were there to do headquarters type stuff, like administrative kind of stuff. Not saying they weren't out there patrolling, but I'm just saying their main mission was like leader engagement and stuff like that. So he comes rolling in. They have their captain that's leading their company, and their captain was really good friends with my captain. I think they had gone to school together. They were really good friends. And then my buddy comes in, all those guys, we're all saying what's up, we're all in the main foyer area, and they're like, so we go over the brief, where you guys going? I'm on the talk, in the talk. So he tells me what they're about to do. They're going to go into this school to talk to the people there, to give them some money, see what else they can help with, and then they're going to come back to us, and then they're going to go back to where they came from. So they head out. They go out on their patrol. We had like they had a Blue Force tracker in their truck, so I would pay attention to where they were on the map. I didn't have like an up-to-date, like GPS, but I kind of knew where they were, and they would give me updates along the way all right, now they're here, now they're here, now they're here. So they make it all the way to the school. They get to the school and they do their leader engagement, and it lasted for like a half hour, 45 minutes. You don't want to stay in one place too long. The truck sits somewhere, then that's when the enemy will launch mortars, they'll try and attack you. You don't want to stay anywhere too long. So they stayed there for about their 45 minutes or so, and they called up like, all right, we're on the way back. We got 4 vehicles, 28 packs, 28 people or whatever, on our way back. And I pick up the radio. I'm like, all right, Roger, see you soon. So they're on their way back, and normally when you're traveling and you go somewhere, you don't want to take the same route twice, not even within a week. You don't want to drive somewhere and take the same route back, because that's when they would set up IEDs. They know you came one way, and then while you're doing whatever, they're going to set up a bomb on the way back. Even if you don't come back for a few days later, they'll set up something, they watch your patterns, and they'll set up IEDs. And at this time, mostly in the city, we had like a week before, we had a guy setting up an EFP in the road, and our guys came around the corner and lit the guy up as he was putting a bomb in the road, and they were about to run right over it, but they saw him doing that and they lit him up as he was putting in the road. But my point was, is EFP, not an IED. So back in my first deployment, a lot of IEDs, wide open, not much coalition or collateral damage. So if you're driving down the road, you hit an IED, massive explosion, stuff flies everywhere, cool. You're out in the middle of nowhere, you're going to damage the trucks, but no collateral damage normally. In the city, if they did one of those bombs out there here in the city, they're going to blow up a nearby house, they're going to kill a kid, they're going to kill a wife. So some of these guys, some didn't care. I mean, some were bad dudes. I don't care, I'm going to kill as many people as possible. Obviously there was those guys, but there were also some that were only concerned at attacking Americans, not concerned on wreaking havoc like some guys were. So they would do EFPs, explosively formed projectile or penetrator. And what that was, it was like a speaker, like a subwoofer box, copper, explosive, and it would melt down into a ball, shoot through the vehicle with a fireball behind it. And what that would do is it would puncture the vehicle and light everybody inside on fire. And so, this is 2008. Our vehicles were much more up armored at this time. Back in 2003, the initial invasion, there was like nothing. They would get hit by stuff, everybody would die. That now they had a lot more armor to these trucks. Our doors were so heavy to open and close because of all the armor on the outside by 2008. And these guys were driving MRAPs that day. For those of you, it's I don't know what the actual term is. The MRAP is like this giant tank-looking truck that they started sending out at this time. And guess what they said? They said they were bomb-proof, that these could withstand any bomb. They were higher up off the ground, heavily up-armored. You had 2 guys in the front, and had like 2 benches in the back with a ramp, and you could fit like 6 guys in the back, not comfortably, like 4 or 5 comfortably, 6 guys crammed in there. And it had a ramp, and it was an MRAP. And we actually got issued those, but they were so tall and big that when we drove down the street, they would rip down all the power lines. So they didn't have any like central power. They had like generators, and what they would do is they would have one generator, and it would be going to all these multiple houses. Anyway, our MRAPs would come down and rip all their stuff apart, and they got so upset with us, so we just used Humvees because they didn't like us using that. But these guys were using an MRAP, just so you know, for this day, they were using an MRAP. So they leave the place, they're driving, and a guy had set up an EFP up ahead on the road. We found out later how they did it because we captured the guys that did it within like a week, and I'll talk about that at the end. But what they did was they had an intersection EFP box on the ground, wire running about 200 yards away. The guy, the trigger man, was way over there. He couldn't even see the road. On the building across the street, there was a guy with a camera, and when he was ready to detonate, he took the picture, flash. This guy was just waiting for his buddy. He'd look at him, and when he did the flash, he would detonate. That way, they're in 2 separate locations. The guy who initiates, because if we see him on the roof, we might attack, but he doesn't have a wire, he doesn't have a trigger. See that guy by himself, you can't really see him, he was so far away. So they waited till these guys were perfectly alongside with a speaker and detonated. My buddy was in the front vehicle driving. The captain of their company was in the passenger seat. Right as they got to the perfect spot, the guy took the picture, the guy detonated, boom. Copper flew through the vehicle, went pretty much through their bodies. They don't really know if they were killed instantly or not, because then the fireball came. They're burning alive, partially alive, and they had a rack system. You wear a bulletproof vest with a rack system that holds your ammo. You have multiple magazines of ammunition. Well, when you're burning, the rounds start sparking off, so it sounds like, it is gunshots. It's bang, bang, bang. The rounds are burning and igniting. The vehicle's burning. Those guys are dying. The guys in the back somehow were able to open the ramp. I'm pretty sure they have a switch in the back. Usually the driver will do the ramp, but the guys in the back had a button back there. They lowered the ramp. They were able to get out. These guys were burning, and they call up on the radio to me. And I never forget a grown man in pure panic, pure distress, fear. The guy calls up on the radio, "Hey, we just got hit, it's bad, we got guys burning, we need help, we need air support, we need help." And I gotta respond. And so my first thing, I get on the radio to battalion, "Hey, we got troops in contact, just hit an IED, we need air assets immediately." Roger, 5-10 minutes and you'll have something on site, so that they can at least watch above to help for any counterattacks. So the guy, I was like, all right, I called him back. I was like, "Hey, you got air support on the way. I need a sit rep as soon as possible." Situation representation, so you can tell me what's going on. And by this point, I think somebody had ran and grabbed the commander. The commander's standing behind me, and I'm still on the radio. And so the guy calls up. He's like, "Yeah, we got 2 KIA. They're still in the truck. We can't get them out. We're setting up security. We need help." And then my commander behind me is like, "Hey, we need to know the battle roster numbers. We need to know the guys that are down." And the battle roster number is first initial of your first name, first initial of your last name, or first letter. So if you're Antonio Brown, it's AB, and then the last 4 of your social security number, so AB4429. So the guy calls up on the radio. He says, "Hey, stand by for battle roster number." So I'm here, and I'm grabbing a pen and paper, and I mean, it was already right there, and he sends it up. He goes, "All right, first KIA is LR4439." So I'm writing it down. Second KIA is CP3342. Writing it down. Those aren't real. I just made them up. And I'm writing it down, and as I'm writing it down, I start to realize, I'm like, who is that initials? Who is driving lead? And all of a sudden it dawned on me. I realized that it was my friend. I read the battle roster number and remembered he was driving the first truck, and he's there burning alive, and I'm in the talk, and what can I do? And unfortunately, the second name was their company commander, and it was my commander standing behind me, one of his good friends also. So we just lost 2 really good guys. So you still got to respond. You still got to. I remember him saying, "Come on, we got work to do." He's like, "You can't let it get to you. We got work to do." I'm like, "All right, air assets. We're coming on site. We're almost there. They're like, is there any identifier where they're at?" And I say, "Yeah, you'll see it. There's a truck in the middle of the road on fire. Shouldn't be too hard to miss." And the guy calls up on the radio. He's like, hey, we got guys taking pop shots at us. We need to get out of here. And he said the people in the street were cheering. And I always like to think that they were helpful, that they wanted us there, but they actually said that the civilians in the street were cheering when this happened. So I don't know if this was like a neighborhood that didn't like us or what, but they said they were cheering that they had just hit us successfully, and you know, our guys were burning. And so they get the air asset on site, and we had a QRF. I should have mentioned that. We had a QRF go out too. So it was chaos. Get QRF. We need guys out there immediately. They go hop in their trucks. QRF, quick reaction force. We always had somebody on standby to react if troops in contact or a big event. So those guys obviously went out, and they hop in their trucks, and they're driving to get there as fast as possible. And also the helicopter's coming on scene. And so I'm in communication with the helicopter, communication with those guys. They get out there, they set up security, and luckily nothing else really transpired. They did a full recovery of the vehicle. They had like oh no, they did not recover it. They had to put it was so damaged that there was no towing, no fixing, so they put a thermite grenade to burn all the crucial stuff inside of it, and I think they just allowed it to burn until there was like nothing left really. I think they had to do a few things because it wasn't burning all the way through, but they pretty much left that vehicle there. You know, I don't know if they ever took their bodies out. I mean, I don't even know if there was anything ever left. I don't know. Like I said, there's none of these articles online or nothing. You can't find any more information about it. But the air assets covered the scene. Those guys secured the scene, and no further contact or action, and they made their way back to base. And it was hard, man. It was really hard. It was my good friend, my captain's best friend. I mean, everybody knew these guys. I mean, everybody there. It was a devastating blow, and we'd only been there for like a month or two. I mean, it had to have been like a month, and it was a devastating blow, man, to lose those guys in an attack that could have, you know, shouldn't have happened. But what's one positive note is through tips and further raids and looking for targets, we found the trigger man and the guy that took the picture. We got him a couple nights later in a raid, and I remember we brought him in, and this is the only time I've ever seen my commander act out of professionalism. And we brought him into, like, we had a little gym area with benches and stuff, and he grabbed this guy and was yelling at him, and he fell over a bench on top of the guy and was yelling at him. This is like a scene that you see in movies where they kill a guy for doing this to their people, you know, but we didn't. I mean, we detained him. Nobody actually ever hit him or anything. He was just yelling at him, and we brought him to, you know, wherever they go after that. I think we brought him to the green zone. They had a little detainee holding facility there, and then he ended up somewhere else. But you know for sure, he spent time. He's probably still in prison to this day somewhere. And so that's my story. Hope you guys liked it. I mean, this is for my friend, for my commander's friend. This is for their story and what it was like for me that day to respond on the radio. And again, thank you guys for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, comment if you want. I appreciate you guys following along and hearing the story. It just shows me that people care and that you want to hear it, and it helps me to talk about it. I haven't told that story many times, and it sucks, but it needs to be told. And next week, my plan right now is my next video is going to be one of the largest weapons caches we ever found. I found it. We used to look for weapons caches all the time with like metal detectors, and one day we were out there and I scanned over something so big, I thought it was a pipe or something, but they don't have pipes out there, and it turned out to be a massive weapon cache. And I actually have a picture from that. All my stuff's on this hard drive. It's fried. I've been trying to get it fixed, but I can't, and I've got thousands of pictures and photos I want to share with you guys, but that one I have, so I'll share that picture. Massive weapons cache we found, and tell that story. I hope you guys liked it. Take care. God bless.